Hey, what is up, guys? This is Levi at the Round Table of Wraith. Just wanted to make a quick video on my top 8 match. Just kind of thought it was a really good match as far as gameplay. Nathan's a super good player. I even got an opportunity to talk with him after the game, both in person and then in Discord later, and just kind of talk through some of the different things. Just thought it was a super interesting match with a lot of different decision points. So I thought, since it was recorded as well, it would be a great opportunity to kind of go through some of the thought process that goes into the gameplay. Spoiler, I did end up losing, if you haven't seen the game already. But nonetheless, I think it was still just a solid game. So this is actually the second time I'm recording this. The first time I recorded it, I didn't quite remember a lot of the cards, and I was flipping back and forth on stuff, so I ended up taking like 90 minutes on it. So the goal is to keep this one a little bit shorter. I think some people had asked to hear the original one, so I'm going to try and have the original uploaded, and it should be like unlisted and in the description somewhere, probably. But yeah, so as you can see, I've put, this is my present tense me. I've got all the cards, and the goal is throughout the game, I'm going to be able to show here the actual cards I have, because on the video, they're not actually shown. So I can show a little bit better kind of what the board state was and show the hidden information, or at least it's the theory, and I'll do the best I can. So going into it, the sideboard, I decided these are the cards that came out. Maybe I turn them sideways for the camera here. Doesn't really matter. Snapdragon Scalers came out. It's actually debatable. I go back and forth on it. Perch Grapplers are really good when you hit the stage of the game where you need to go like full defensive and wait for them to die. The problem is, with the release of Spellbound Creepers, it's a little bit harder to get them to kind of just die to their own blood debt, because they have more opportunities to clear it. However, the Snapdragon Scalers, once you start getting a little bit of pressure on them, becomes super useful at like continuing that pressure and lets you play through an awkward hand if they take a setup turn. One of the turns in this game you'll see, I have the Perch Grapplers and I have to use them, where if I had snaps, the game goes so much smoother. And honestly, it might have ended up winning me the game. But regardless, you never know if that situation is going to come up or not. But I decided to not play snaps. I have a small fatigue package, 2 salvages, and a remembrance. Those came out. 2 yellow fatigue shots come out. They just don't do very much against chain small attacks, and you need to cut a couple arrows. Read the Glide Path yellow, super good for second cycle. Obviously, in this matchup, I don't ever expect to see second cycle. So therefore, it's just not that strong into the aggro. Release the Tension. It's another buff, but it's a 2-block, and they don't have defense reaction, so it doesn't matter. And then Battering Bolt is for other matchups, so these come out as well. So that's the 15 that came out. Play your Slim 60, because obviously 60 is a good number. I want to see my best 60 against Chane. Alright, let's get that out of there. I'll go ahead and get this set up here. So in the video, we're just cutting each other's decks. He was higher seed, so he had the opportunity to choose, and he chose to go first. So cards I'm looking for obviously are like Sigil of Solace and Take Cover. So let's go ahead and get that video going a little bit as I try and sort out what the opening hand was. There's a Seek and Destroy. See, I went through this whole process yesterday, and I've already forgotten all of the cards. Or at least a good portion of them. I believe there's a Sink below as well. Question mark? I might be thinking of a different game. I don't know, let's find out. So obviously you can't see me in the video, but I will be representing this here as best I can. So yeah, as we get there, Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was something along these lines. No, I remember. This was not in the hand. I think it was just like a fatigue shot. Doesn't matter too much because I do end up sinking it. Alright, opening hand is here. So let's see if I can line this up. This is on top of the deck. So he's coming in for... what is that? Coming in for 6, go again with the on hit. The game plan, obviously, is I want to use a take cover at some point, and I want to reload something. The first target would be, or first thought would be seek and destroy. Neither of these are great to arsenal on the first turn. However, there is the discussion of if I take cover, or I guess the thought process here. I'll back up to the full thought process. My opponent's played a non-attack action and its attack action, and has 1 resource floating. And he wants to arsenal on the first turn. So this is like 100% face up that he's just played. He's coming in for 6 with an on hit into Thorn for 2 and 2. So I want to take cover, reload something, which means I've got these 3 cards to throw in front over there. So I'm never getting full usage out of both defense reactions. So one of them's blocking 4, and then the other blocks are going to block a maximum of, there's 2 remaining on the first attack, and then 2 physical I can block on the Thorn. So yeah, and obviously I want to make sure I block out the on hit. So I know I want to throw at least these 2, and then one of these cards ends up arsenal. Obviously right now this is the better one. So we should be starting off with the Sink Below. This is the best arsenal target. This lets me reload. So this is the card that doesn't really matter in my hand. So I'm going to be looking to Sink Below this. And so yeah, Sink Below, get rid of the kind of card that didn't really matter, and the worst take cover target goes to the bottom here. And I'll be drawing the Bolton shot. I'm trying to figure out where my camera's going to line up with in the video, because obviously I'm thinking through this all. And just trying to play slow. Obviously it's top 8, so there's no... how well can I line this up? Obviously it's top 8, so I'm not going to keep doing that too long. It's top 8, so there's no time in the round. So I get to take as much time as I need to think about it. Obviously you don't want to take excessive amounts to where it's just frustrating, but sorry, I'm having way too fun lining that up. I'm like, why is there no arsenal on the recording? It's because I did it in that. I just hadn't done it there. And then I reloaded the Bolton shot and blocked here. Okay, sorry, I was getting distracted lining stuff up because I can. All right, so let's go ahead and pause this here, and we'll discuss the Bolton shot and the Seek and Destroy. So Bolton shot versus Seek and Destroy is debatable. Actually, I think Seek and Destroy might have actually ended up being better. The thought process is, though, early on against Chane, the goal is to pressure his health total. You have to get Chane to a point where his husk is in danger at some point, because the end goal is obviously when he starts struggling with blood debt is to come in with like a dominated red in the ledger, and that makes him fall super behind on being able to handle his blood debt and ends up dying to his own cards. But I can't do that when Husk is there. So in the early stages of the game, when I have the opportunity, I want to pressure the Husk. So the idea here is that Seek and Destroy is going to translate to 3 damage on my turn. Bolton shot, if I draw a buff, is going to translate to 4. Drawing a buff is pretty reasonable. There's obviously the chance of missing, in which case I'd have to cross-wrap and try and get rid of it. But especially if I hit a Rain Razors as the buff, this translates to basically 6 damage as opposed to the 3 here. So we're looking at an additional 1 to 3 additional damage for the bolt and shot on the premise that I draw a buff, and drawing one in the top 4 is reasonable. So it's a little bit of a gamble, but there's much higher payout on the bolt and shot as opposed to the seek and destroy. So yeah, that was kind of the thought process. I went for a little riskier line, but that's what I did. So I'm gonna show it sideways, show that it's face down, maybe something like that. Either way, that gets blocked with. Let's go ahead and watch a slightly bit more into the video. I'm like looking back and forth on my screen between the video and the recording, trying to make sure that I have it accurate. So this bolt and shot turn, man, I flip it up for cross wrap. I don't. Why can I not remember what was in hand? Oh, I do remember. Okay, never mind. So the hand is going to be Rain Razors, Command and Conquer, Blue Ridge Rider Shot. Then we're going to have, give us a springboard. And maybe an E. No, there's E strike for sure. I think it's a springboard is the opt. So, okay. I need an E strike. E strike. All right. So if I remember correctly, it was something along these lines. Where why am I forgetting? I'm missing one more card. What was my last card? There's definitely like a fatigue in there. What is my last card in hand? I think this is on top. I don't know. Either way, I attack with the bolt and shot. Then we're gonna Rain Razors and choose not to opt. I'm quite sure this was a command. Oh, it's whatever I pitch here. Sorry. And then when I opted, the springboard went to the bottom, because there wasn't any value in the springboard. Okay, it was a sink below. All right, so let me piece that turn together. I guess I say, oh wow, it was a sink below, but you guys obviously can't see because it's on the video. All right, so the turn was. Let me pause this. This was the hand, which obviously it's nice to see the Rain Razors, but I would like to see an arrow. So the turn plays out as such. Opt. Look, see a springboard. The thought process is I'm obviously doing this, and then what I want to do next is draw a card that is like a buff would be nice. Yeah, a buff would have been nice. I suppose there was there actually was an argument, maybe to hold this, keep the springboard. Otherwise, I send it to the bottom, looking for a buff. I want to just be aggressive here. We pitch, load, draw. Nothing float. Oh, I guess I should let. It's gonna be a mess. I apologize. I'm trying to keep it all lined up, but I'm gonna be pausing and starting and explaining, but roughly. Okay, so in the video, I had just opted with the Ridge Rider shot, and I see the E strike on top. So this is where the consideration is really, I could Azalea, load the E strike, and then E strike for 7. The other consideration is bottom the E strike and blind Azalea. The problem is this card that I drew was not a yellow, which maybe it wasn't. I'm going to just say it was a springboard and that I screwed up, but I should have drawn the springboard. That was a mistake from me. Because had I done that, I would have been able to pitch the springboard and play if I whiffed on the blind Azalea. Yeah, I think I should have taken the springboard draw. Okay, well, there's a mistake. But the goal, obviously, is I really wanted to find an arrow on top. just because I already have the Rain Razor's buff in play. Regardless, now that I'm at this stage, I guess I could back up slightly. This goes back on top. We got this here. The other consideration is just pitch to play the CNC here. And that's just probably a fine line, and then I get the Arsenal sink below. So that actually would have been another good line. So I think the line I took was just the greediest. Because had I been able to find something on top with the Ridge Rider, then all of a sudden this line turns into a really good line. But yeah, assuming it was a springboard, I can't honestly remember what it was for 100% certain. If it was a springboard, it was a mistake, and I should have taken the springboard draw. Because then I have the opportunity to blind... I see the E-Strike, I send the E-Strike to the bottom. Then I get to blind Azalea, whatever it is, and then I either fire the arrow, or I get to pitch and play the CNC. So if I saw a yellow, that was a mistake, but I don't honestly remember what it was. And I don't have a great way of knowing. So, if it was a yellow, should have kept it. That's the takeaway here. Regardless, I do end up doing this. I see the E-Strike, and at this stage, the correct answer with this E-Strike on top is to go ahead and do the Azalea, load the E-Strike, and just come in for 7. I do opt to... I believe I arsenaled the CNC. So I do come in with the E-Strike for 7. My opponent, I believe, takes it. We just haven't updated the score sheet. And then this is arsenaled. And then my next draw is gonna be Sleep Dart Red, a Rain Razors, and a Memorial Ground. So this is the hand, and he starts an Art of War turn. Obviously I have 2 non-blocks, which is terrifying. And the biggest thing I'm afraid of right now is I know that I only have 6 physical block, and I've got the CNC in Arsenal. So I want to hold a yellow to fire the CNC, and then I've got 6 physical block available, which is going to be... Sorry, let me move this out of the way. I've got 6 physical block available, which combined with the Perch Grapplers can stop a CNC. So, at this point, yeah, obviously I can't throw the Perch Grapplers unless I absolutely have to. So I want to hold these for on hits and until I get full information. So he starts out with the Red Belittle. It's coming in for 4. It's vanilla damage, and I know there's a ton more coming. So there's no real point in doing anything with that. We're going to go ahead and take 4 here. He takes a moment to shuffle, which we realize afterwards that shuffling was probably not the most important thing to do since he's going right back in with the next Belittle. But yeah, like I said, another thing I was doing here is sometimes I get in the habit of playing quickly, where like they go Belittle and they're searching for their minimalism, and I'm declaring blocks and stuff, but Hero's very meticulous. I wasn't saying anything to the attack until after he had declared what he was searching for. I don't think it impacts his lines very much, but maybe I go, hey, this is how I'm going to be throwing a bunch of cards in front of it, and he goes, oh, well, now I want the red minimalism for my consuming volition or something. So blocks don't happen until after the search, so don't declare blocks any sooner. And hopefully, I guess I realize now, hopefully this image isn't confusing you, because that's not me right now. That's past me. Alright, so Belittle comes in for 3. Go again. He now has 3 in hand, which are Minnowism Yellow, or Minnowism Red, Minnowism Blue, and Consuming Volition, I believe. Or is it 4 in hand? It was 4 in hand. 1 was puppetry. Yeah, so he's already coming for 7 and still had 4 in hand. It's great fun. Alright, so now I know all of the cards. I was talking with him afterwards, and he mentioned that this ordering let me actually figure this out. So he had mentioned he was supposed to Rosetta Thorn prior to revealing the Consuming Volition, so I'd be less likely to block the Arcane. I'm trying to figure out what that sequencing would look like. Does he like... Oh, actually... Yeah, if he goes like red Minnowism, the yellow Belittle... No, because then that gets punished by a defense reaction, and he needs the Puppetry to be giving the Unhallowed... Oh no, he could have just done that, yeah. He could have just gone Shadow Puppetry into Unhallowed Rites. Into Chane, Thorn, Belittle, grab the red. Yeah, so rearranging that sequencing, there was a threat of hitting the Arcane, and then all of a sudden I get caught where I don't have the option of ignoring the Consuming Volition on hit. So yeah, he's right. That could have been a little bit better. Obviously, knowing my hand, I was always planning on blocking that Arcane because this 2-block was irrelevant anyways. So, but the outcome doesn't change whether or not something's correct. All right. That said, he comes in with the Thorn for 2 and 2, and I've seen the Consuming Volition. Let's get that out of there. So he comes in with Thorn for 2 and 2. I've seen the Consuming Volition, and I pitch the Memorial Ground to block the 2 Arcane. So this is the remaining hand. He's now coming in with Shadow Puppetry for 6. Yeah, 6. Go again with the on hit. And so now there's a couple discussion points. Where's my dice? Ooh. No. New Briar tokens from the LGS ended up in my dice. So my Tunic is on 1 right now. And my thought process here is that I want to block with a Sleep Dart, and then on my turn, Tunic goes up. Obviously, I'm going to opt to see if I can find something better, but the backup plan is just going to be CNC for 6, pitching the Rain Razors. And with that on that line, that means that this Sleep Dart I want to get in the arsenal, because on my next turn, Tunic would go to 3, and then I'm able to like block with my full hand and just fire a Sleep Dart out of arsenal. So that's kind of the whole, like my Tunic's still on 1, but I'm already planning on what I want to do with my Tunic resource, and that's impacting my blocks here. So, yeah, so he comes in for 6 here, and obviously I could block 6, and then that stops the Shadow Puppetry trigger. The other thing is these decks are running usually like 40% Blood Debt, and the chance of it hitting is reasonably high, but there's a pretty good chance it misses. And I think I would rather have the card in arsenal and just give me extra options for my following turn. So, oh, also, he's already shown where all of his resources are going. I know he has a red Minnowism in hand, and I know he has a blue Consuming Volition that has no on hit on right now. So he's just going to be coming in for 6 on the end of the turn. There's a small possibility that he arsenals the Minnowism. I don't actually hate that. I was thinking about it at the time. I was like, I actually kind of hoped he would, because that Minnowism becomes an activator on the future turns, and I think the only real punish for doing so that turn would have been a CNC. So I'm actually curious. I'll probably ask him why no arsenal on the red Minnowism. Just because that's just a free activator for if he banishes like a Bounding or something. Either way, so my assumption is he's coming in for the 6 and then either 3 or 6. Like I said, I assumed it would only be 3 on the Consuming. So I do end up throwing 1 card in front of this, and there's no real reason why. It's in front of this. trying to think. Yeah, there's no real reason to throw it here instead of the consuming. Is there any punish? I suppose if he just pitched the consuming volition to make a rune chant and pass, and I get stuck with extra cards, but he doesn't know that I want to block with this card, so he has no reason to do it that way. So I don't think it actually matters where I throw this card. Oh, okay, apparently I didn't throw it in front of this. I did throw it in front of the next one. Oh, yeah, no, that is correct. Just because I was giving him the Shadow Puppetry on hit, which means he was going to get to banish and I was going to see more stuff. It shouldn't make much of a difference, but blocking, I get to see more information before I decide and finalize my block. So this here, I just throw it because I know that this is the end of his turn. He threatened 23 damage here on his second turn, so I take 18. Not a great start, but regardless, this is my remaining hand. So we're gonna go ahead and get stuff cleaned up. And obviously I was disappointed that he didn't arsenal the red minnowism, because this would have been a really good situation to just CNC and pressure that arsenal. But now I'm in a situation where this is a vanilla 6, so I really don't want to do that. Now I'm pretty oh, that's what this is. This is a sigil on top, I'm pretty sure, right? And he gets a nice laugh out of it because he didn't realize that there were sigils in my list. I guess he just wasn't looking. And so obviously, let me pause and explain. That was a really good hit there because I didn't want to actually cast this Command and Conquer. I didn't want to blind Azalea, so I needed something playable. Just by getting to, that's another good thing about Sigil, is if you have an attack in Arsenal and you opt into a Sigil, you get to just play the Sigil, and then obviously load and draw. In this case, I drew a yellow Sleep Dart if I'm not mistaken, and then just come in with the Sleep Dart for 5. Now, this is kind of an unfortunate part in the game where Nathan's hand is really bad. He's got, I think it ends up being like 4 blue non-attack actions or something. So he goes, okay. He's like, whatever, I'll just throw this and make a rune chant swing Thorn, but I want to half say, oops, tuning should be at 2. I want to like half say that there's some argument to holding the Sleep Dart, but there really isn't. It's just me being results oriented. We arsenal the yellow Sleep Dart every time. Now, my next hand is going to be take aim, red in the ledger, blue, or I guess a red bolt and shot, a blue knock the death whistle. No, not it's the other one. The other blue, because I don't run very many. Ridge Rider. So yeah, as you can see, he had blocked with Captain's Call. I don't remember what the other 2 block was. He pitches the Mauve Skies. It's just all garbage for him. So it gives me an opportunity to gain tempo back, which is actually really big, and a big part. Yeah, it's a big part of why the game was so close. Like, we obviously all saw the flashy Art of War turn, and we're like, oh man, he got super lucky. But like, this was a really bad hand for him, and he had complete tempo, and he just lost it all of a sudden. And that really put me back in the game. So those 2 hands kind of like canceled each other out. He came back for 3 damage. But he got to set up an arsenal. I'm trying to think if I'm able to make a good read here as far as like what might be the card in arsenal. I don't think so, aside from it might be a non-attack action, because if it was an attack action, he might have been more likely to try and make a turn out of the other hand. But it makes me think that, yeah, so that should be a non-attack action. And that's not something I was thinking during the game, even though I probably should have. All right, so my turn is going to be Sleep Dart getting flipped with the cross trap. And I will opt and see a Command and Conquer and be pissed. Because obviously I'm stuck with a full hand, and this is where I wish I had snaps. Because obviously that tempo swing wasn't my doing. That was entirely him drawing a bad hand. But I did get a tempo swing, and I got stuck with a Sleep Dart in Arsenal. Because I was planning on going Tunic to 3, and just being like, wow, I get to fire this Sleep Dart. Like, this is great, right? But obviously that's I wanted to block with 4 cards, but I'm not blocking with 4 cards when he's only coming in for 3 damage. So I get kind of stuck in this situation where I have 2 options. Option A, sorry, let me pause that. Option A, sorry, I don't know why I'm still shuffling. Like, shuffling my deck doesn't matter here. This is on top of the deck. I opt and I see the CNC. So option A is send CNC to the bottom and then blind Azalea, which sounds like a really good way to throw the game. I just got tempo back, or I just got handed tempo on a silver platter, and if I hit like a defense reaction, I think the game is just over. So sadly, the backup line is obviously still bottom the CNC because I don't want it, right? Actually, do I want it? Is there ever a line where I want it? No, because I still have to perch grapplers, and then I don't have resources for the CNC. No, so CNC always goes to the bottom. And then we got to pitch the Blue Ridge Rider for the perch grapplers. I guess that lines up on screen now. And then we use the floating resource to come in with the Sleep Dart. He immediately, he no blocks. And either way, he ends up no blocking. So I know I'm kind of like committed to this, and it's actually really big that I get to have. Oh, I know what's on top next. It's Remorseless, but obviously it doesn't really matter because I never actually know that during the game until after I draw. But there's a Remorseless on top of the deck, and it ends up just getting pitched again. So I can move these a little bit closer. So he takes the 4. There's actually an interesting option here. Or I guess there is a discussion here. I guess I'll dive into it a little bit. First would be Tunic, load the red in the ledger, fire red. This is reasonably going to get his husk. He's on 21 right now. I can see him just tossing the husk in front of this. And then I get to take aim and fire the Bolton shot, coming in for 7. And realistically, he takes 7 and goes to 14. The issue with, or I guess, so that's the one line. And I always know that I need the Tunic resource and the card off the top to pitch for this. So it really doesn't matter what's on the top of my deck. I don't think it ends up ever changing my line. Right? No. The only way it would change my line is if I really wanted to gamble and pitch this take aim to draw exactly a Rain Razors. Loading this, come through for 4, Rain Razor, get the reload. Oh no, I didn't actually have to pitch that, right? It was Tunic resource to load, and if I drew exactly Rain Razors would get pitched, or would get played. Either way, that's a very fringe case, especially since I'm already down 1. Regardless, Tunic resource, load the Bolton shot for 4, take aim, load red in the ledger, pitching this, because obviously I drew that off the Death Dealer prior. So the difference between these two lines is obviously you've got 4 and 8 versus 5 and 7. The thing is, I was given a pretty strong indication off the sleep dart that he didn't want to block. If he's going to block, sleep dart is like a high priority, and he chose not to, which makes me think that he wants to use armor, or rather he wants to hold his whole hand. So this line here only gets the husk, and then this comes in for 7, and he takes 7 obviously, as opposed to coming in for 4, and then 8, and then he blocks this and takes 4. The difference is he has to use grasp for this line, and in this case I'm essentially giving him 3 health for his grasp. However, 3 health is important. Honestly, I think I would take trading 3 health for his grasp, because all of a sudden he's down on equipment block and he can't stop a dominate later, especially when he's down his husk. So I think getting the grasp equipment block makes this line a little bit better. There's also the very, very slim chance that he husks this when it's coming in for 7. It seems a little bit ridiculous, but maybe. I mean, I guess, so there's also, I know, there's so many possibilities and what ifs on what he would do. But this takes him to 21. Man, if I went take aim, so I've got tunic resource, I go take aim, load the bolt and shot, face down obviously, and come in for 7 go again. Like, this is threatening putting him to 14. I wonder if that ever gets the husk. I don't know. It feels very telegraphed, like 7 go again, and I've got a tunic resource and a card in hand. Like, there's always one more arrow coming. But I could see him going to 14 here. Okay, if he doesn't husk this, I have the option of just like Arsenal passing, right? And he's on 14 and he can't take another blood debt at any point. However, he does run tomes, so there's a very real chance he's able to get out of that, but making him full clear his blood debt every turn could be interesting. Also making it so I can just next turn, I don't know, fire vanilla red in the ledger for 5. Oh, that's really interesting. I think there's a very real chance he's on 21 and I come in for 7 here, that he throws the husk. And then we get to load the red in the ledger and come in for disruption. Yeah. I think that may have been the line. Let's take the bolt and shot for 7 and try and bait the husk. Because the bolt and shot for 4 never gets the husk. Either way, the line I did take was load the bolt and shot, draw the remorseless, and fire for 4 go again, load, red in the ledger for 8. On the end there, let's get that video caught up. Man, every time I go back, I see slightly different lines, and I don't know, because like, there's also the consideration, when I come in with the 7, it's threatening 14. He goes, what are the odds that he's just baiting me with a rain razors in his hand? I think I'd most likely cast it here, but like, he just loses the game to a rain razors there if he doesn't throw anything in front of it, right? So I think he would feel the need to throw something in front of it. And then if he did husk, obviously this red in the ledger is a huge punish. If he doesn't, man, I think this was the play. The bolt and shot for 7. Yeah, and like if he doesn't husk this, I take him to 14, and I think I just get to play defensive until and make him so he has to clear his blood debt every single turn. And like if he isn't able to clear it perfectly without I don't know. I actually do really like this line the more I look back at it. Let's line this up. Something like that. Oh no, that's a mess. Close enough. It's all cut in half. Yeah, and so when this comes in for us, 8, it's just always straight getting that equipment. And like, I knew that, but also I have to fire it to actually get the husk because I need to get the husk. Alright, so those, I just put those upside down because I have my deck upside down. So what is the follow-up hand? The following hand is going to be I think there's a red in the ledger. A knock the death whistle. Maybe a defense reaction. Does it take cover? Yeah, I'm gonna have to keep watching for a second to try and remember what my hand was. Yes, there was a take. Okay, so this was the take cover turn. I believe I chose not to take cover. What was the rest of the hand? I think this is the next turn, not this turn. I guess we'll have to find out, but either way, take cover to block. Burster for 5, I take 5. And why am I drawing a blank on what this next hand is? Because I know this knock red in the ledger turn is coming up, just it's not this turn. Oh, I do have a knock this hand. Because I know I end up pitching it for 3 arcane. Oh, I remember. There's an E strike in there. And I think it was a 2 block. Yeah, I'm pretty... Okay. Yeah. Alright, so this was the hand. And I do not have any tunic counters right now. So, obviously you see a knock and you're like, ooh, that's sick, right? Because you get to go like, knock, reload, that, pitch, fire, like a dominated red in the ledger for 8. The problem is, like, that's using my entire hand. That's 4 cards to come in with 8 dominate. And he's on 17 right now, right? So hitting an 8 dominate, okay, I do 5 damage because he doesn't throw armor because it's not stopping the on hit. I'm going to deal 5 damage. He's going to go to 12. And next turn he takes 2 blood debt or something. And like, I don't know, it feels like, I don't know, 4 cards to do it felt bad. Maybe that was incorrect. Maybe I thought he was going to go wider. But it was an option. I don't know if my mic picked up the thunder, but thundering. I don't know, maybe 8 dominated red in the ledger was the play here. I would have ended up taking... He came in for 6, came in for 5, came in for 2 and 2 and 2. 6, 5, 2, 2, 2. 6, 5, 2, 2, 2. 17. Right? 2, 6, 5, 2, 2, 2. Huh. I was on... How much going into that turn? I was on 20. He was only threatening 17. I go to 3? Oh, I don't know. Going to 3 sounds really bad. I don't know. Maybe it was just better. Or actually, maybe it's possible that this wasn't actually a buff. Because this is a card that I E-strike to the bottom. And I assumed it was a buff. Oh, actually, I think I know it. I knew it was a 2-block. It might have just been a springboard. No. If it was a springboard, I would have loaded it with the take cover. What is this card? Maybe it wasn't a 2-block and just a random 3-block? But if it was a random 3-block, I would have loaded to Death Dealer. What would that card have been? Oh, I went too far back on the video. Maybe I can get a glimpse of the hand at some point. Oh, it's such a long video that it's really hard to scroll through it carefully. I mean... Oh. Maybe it was a no-block? Like a memorial ground or something? It's funny, if anyone watches both videos, my guesses are probably going to be different between each one. Yeah, one of these sounds right. Maybe it was a memorial ground. Yeah, I'm going to guess memorial ground. And on that note, this way, I could still hold the full hand. No, holding the full hand would be bad, because I'd only be coming in 5 dominate and he can block it. Okay, that's final answer. Holding the full hand only comes in for 5 dominate, he can block it. I started with the take cover and chose not to reload. There was a discussion of reloading the E-strike, because then it gives me the opt at the start, and then I get to just fire the E-strike. The problem with loading the E-strike there is the fact that if he has a CNC, I just kind of get blown out. If you haven't been able to tell from any videos I've done, I'm terrified of CNC at like all times. The card kind of just wins games against me. May or may not happen later in this game, but details. So I'm going to hold the E-strike. I have the memorial ground available. To block Arcane if I want, but it becomes a 2-block at that stage, and that's just not great. Yeah, this seems like the most logical hand that it would have been, based on the way I played it. Then again, it could have been something better and I just misplayed it, but this makes the most sense as to what the hand would have been. So we block with the take cover, choose not to reload. The goal is to kind of block out. I tell myself I'm holding the E-strike and I'm holding the memorial ground, and I'm going to use this to block Arcane at this case, or at this point. So the reason I wanted to block Arcane with this, I could have blocked 3 physical here. Here. I could have blocked 3 physical here, but I knew that this was going to be a thorn line, and he was going to have 1 floating at least, so he would likely throw the invert as well. So the idea What was the idea here? Oh, okay, so he played the Shadow Verser, banished the invert. I'm trying to think. Oh, he's under Sleep Dart. That's why he didn't shackle. I'm sitting here thinking, why didn't he shackle? Okay, so... I mean, I suppose I want these for closing out the game, so getting them back in the deck, as opposed to blocking with it, is better. Because once I play another knock, I want to draw them like back to back and be able to keep the pressure on. So having more of these in deck is never a bad thing. So I think that's why. I also, by pitching it and leaving one floating, there's a chance he wastes his 2 resources and just goes, I'm going to hold this invert, at which point he takes 1 damage. I think I'm okay with that. I don't know. I think I could go either way on blocking or pitching with it, but I think pitching is fine. The other discussion is I could have thrown an E-Strike to block as well. We're going to see me go down to 10 here, I believe. Which, for being sleep darted, that was a pretty good turn. I guess Belittle kind of just does that. I blocked 7, and still that was a 17 damage turn under Sleep Dart. Yeah. So either way, I decide I want to hold the E-Strike. I need to get his health total a little bit lower. So one of my favorite things to do in Azalea is just the E-Strike for 5, draw a card. It's basically a 1-card 5. Because I get to cycle. In this case, I believe it's the Memorial Ground to the bottom. And draw a random card, which... obviously, I'll find out what that random card is, but I don't know what it is right off. And then Seek and Destroy and Red in the Ledger were his banished choices for the invert. And he ends up taking the 5. And whatever blood that was. And the knock went to the bottom. So... Tunics at 1. Banishes a CNC and a Shadow Puppetry. As well as obviously the Unhallowed Rites. Now what was this next turn? Oh, I know what this next turn was. This next turn was the one I was talking about with the Red in the Ledger, Knock the Death Whistle. I believe it's a Take Aim. And... oh, I don't know what my Blind Arsenal card, but the fact that I got a Blind Arsenal card lets me do this line more effectively. So it doesn't really matter what the last card is. I'm just going to call it a Somersault. Or a Springboard. We'll likely find out. But I'm looking at the Knock the Death Whistle and the Take Aim. And some card in Arsenal. I don't know what it is right now. Sorry. I can't, like, I'm trying to represent it, but I'm watching the video. And then I look over and realize that you guys can't see my board in the video. You can only see what I'm actually showing here. So I need to be better about it. So there's some card in the arsenal. I don't actually remember what it was. So I'll fix it when we find out. So here I block with the Red in the Ledger. And for some reason, I start like shaking my head, and I don't know why I was convinced that it was just incorrect to block with the Red in the Ledger after I decided Red in the Ledger is the block. And then I immediately told myself it wasn't. And that I was throwing or something, but like there's no reason, like it doesn't get dominate this way. Like I needed to be dominated, so I didn't have any use. I guess if there's something bad in the arsenal, or something easy in the... oh, was that it? If there's something I can clear out of arsenal, being able to pitch, load the Red in the Ledger, draw, knock, That actually could have been really good. Either way, I go to 3 here, because I only block with the red in the ledger. I don't know what this card is still. Oh, this is one where I don't flip it over. This was definitely a mistake. I was tilted from that whole situation. Oh no, I do flip it over. Okay, it's a Bolton shot. Let me try and figure out why I did it this way. Alright, so we've got a face or a Bolton shot down here. This in hand. I guess I can press play on the video because I want to see what this was. I think it ended up being like a memorial ground on top, and it didn't actually matter. And here I take a look through my grave just to make sure that I have one more red in the ledger in deck. Or, oh, no, this was a Seek and Destroy on top of the deck. Final answer, Seek and Destroy. Wait, if it was a Seek and Destroy, did I fuck up? Oh no, it better not have been a Seek and Destroy. Wait. Oh no, because I did block with this, right? It was a Seek and Destroy? Yeah. If it was a Seek and Destroy and I blocked with this, that's fine. If it was a Seek and Destroy and I had held this, it would have been insane. But, oh no. Okay. I'm sorry. I'm so bad at this. Alright. Going back slightly. Okay, so I'm on 10 here. And I know this is the hand, right? I guess slightly further forward. Okay, and I know this is the hand here. Now, he's got a blue bounding in the banished. 3 cards in hand. And he goes yellow lead the charge, unhallowed. Or pitch for unhallowed. Which then immediately tells me his entire line. Yeah. So this tells me his entire line. It's going to be lead the charge for 4, then bounding for 2, thorn for 2 and 2, with the potential of an additional rune chant if it's a blue in his hand, which means he's threatening 10 or 11 damage here, which means I'm looking at this hand and going, right now, it would be nice to be able to do something like this, into this, and then, you know, you pitch here, load the red in the ledger into a knock the death whistle, come in with a red in the ledger dominated or something, even like draw the Seek and Destroy, it's like the nuts. The problem with that line is that I die, because I don't have enough health for that. So, as soon as he presents this, I know I have to block with something. I could gamble and like throw the tunic and potentially go to 1, but if he has a blue, then I lose another card. So it's just never worth it to do it that way. So I know I need to throw something in front of it. And so I guess there would be knock, but then I don't have a dominate on my red in the ledger. Or I don't have a guaranteed dominate. That would be bad. Springboard only blocks 2, and I wanted that for pitch. I wanted the buff. So I think it just comes down to it ends up being the red in the ledger is the best block here. Because it blocks for 3, and I'm not going to get a death dealer draw, but it is what it is, because I can't throw away the buff. And I can't throw away the knock. I need these 2, so it would have been between these 2 here. Okay, yeah, so that makes sense. So red in the ledger ends up being the right thing there. Okay, so we'll scoot forward a little bit again. And I go to 3. I bolt and shot opt and see a Seek and Destroy and go, Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was a Seek and Destroy and go, man, that would be nice, but like, I guess you Azalea into Seek. No, I just don't have any arrows. Like, there's just no way to make a Seek and Destroy work here. So unfortunately, I don't think it ends up mattering. I verify that I've got the second red in the ledger in the grave. Or that I have one in deck still. Play the Knock the Death Whistle here. We dig for red in the ledger. I think that's just the only line here. Obviously, if I blocked with one additional card on the previous turn, this red in the ledger would only come in for 5, and it would be blocked by Creepers, Grasp, and a 3-block, and then I'm on 3 and I just die. So I get put in the position where I have to go to 3 to be able to get this Dominated red in the ledger off. So then obviously we Azalea, take aim, and then pitch for the red in the ledger. This actually might be actually, was it a sigil? It was a sigil. Not a springboard. Yeah, it was a sigil. Okay. That doesn't really change anything. It still comes down to the fact that on this hand here, I guess technically this hand here, I could play the sigil out, but then my line is like knock this. I guess I gotta pitch the red in the ledger on this line. Yeah, no. So this was definitely correct, because then you block with the red, and then on the cross-strap opt, there's the chance that you hit the red in the ledger, in which case you get to do take aim, that pitching the, whoops, this is at the bottom, pitch there, and then I get to arsenal the sigil, and then I become in a really, really good spot. But there was a chance that I didn't have to use the knock, so yeah, okay, so I'm content with that, I think. So this was it going into the turn, and we said obviously that for 8. That was final answer. Whew. Alright, so this goes to the bottom. And he goes ahead and only blocks for 3. Goes to 7. And it's at this stage of the game where I actually was feeling in a pretty good position. I thought I had a shot at this. And then I draw up my hand, and I see really good stuff here. Like, this is a nice hand coming up right here. What did I click? And I'm on 3. I'm sorry, like in the recording, I'm cutting off my own health, but I'm on 3 here. I was too lazy to fix it so that you could see it. Actually, when I aligned it at the start, you could see it, but then it got moved because this line lined up here. So you were able to see both healths, but then it got moved into my space because I put my stuff in a square so that he could have room for his grave. So now you can't see it on my recording, and get over it. So this is the draw, and I'm like, okay, this is sick. And then he goes Command and Conquer. And I go, this is not sick. Because... Sorry, this should be on 2 now. Yeah. Obviously, like, I could block, double block, and then not do anything. So, I guess this is kind of the pivotal one where there's a lot of things going through my head. Obviously, I'm going, oh, crap. I felt like I was in such a good position against anything except for Command and Conquer right here. And this draw just doesn't line up well into a Command and Conquer because I draw the defense reaction. Like, I genuinely thought the game was won off that red at the ledger. I think it was like exactly Command and Conquer here that pulls this game out of my grasp. So I guess we'll discuss the possibilities here. So there's three main things that I've seen as possibilities here, and they kind of vary. So let's go ahead and discuss the one I actually did first. What I actually did was I blocked with Command and Conquer, and I blocked with the Tunic. And so this block takes me to 1, but I'm left with this in my hand. And let me go ahead and line this up. I did have a red take aim on top of the deck. And yeah, I mean, I've talked with Nathan about this sequence, just trying to gauge what it was. But so this is the first block. There was like 3 different ways I could have blocked. Realistically, this is block number 1. This is what I did, and then obviously this path diverges as well. Block number 1. My turn starts. Obviously, I don't have any use for this Fate Foreseen, so we're going to pitch the Fate Foreseen, load the Remorseless, draw a take aim. And at this stage, there's a couple options. One is... Well, actually, yeah. One is pitch Remorseless, come in for 5. If he blocks 5, I play the rain, or 5 or 6. I Rain Razors, and he dies to his own stuff. I guess. Fast forward the video so you don't see that Command and Conquer right there. All right. He'll clean up because he's going down to 3 off his blood debt. So yeah, and I'm already playing out the turn. So this, and I'm holding the Rain Razors. He blocks 5, I Rain Razors, and then when I play that Rain Razors, the only out he has is Invert Existence, which he only is running 2, and the 1 in hand, and rather, he's already played 1. So I lose to Invert that way. The only other concern here is if he sees me do it that way, where I'm pitching a red take aim to fire for 5, I feel it's almost too telegraphed. This is Rain Razors. I think against a worse player, you can catch him off guard like that, but Nathan is a very, very good player, and I think he expects this, and he will look at that and go, that's a Rain Razors. All I need to do is block 7, and then I can push through. Yeah. So, against a worse player, this is probably the line. Against Nathan, I chose this line, which I guess take aim, and then the Remorseless coming in for 8. He currently has 2 armor block available. This would demand 2 3 blocks, which Chane does run a decent amount of 2 blocks, so there's a very real chance that extra 1 that he has to block becomes a problem. But again, this line also dies to Invert. And I think the thing I take away by the end of all this is that every line here dies to Invert Existence. And so that becomes something that you have to say, well, they just don't have it. So, yeah. So that's this line. Obviously, he does end up having the Invert, and I die. But I think this pressuring 8, losing his creepers, losing his minimum 2 cards from hand becomes a problem, because obviously I'm on 1, but he's still down 2 cards, and he's got to clear his blood debt. If I'm able to block everything cleanly, then I get there. And note that this line does leave 2 Arcane Barrier, so that assuming he blocks this 8, or actually I didn't know about the take aim, so I'm assuming it would only, at the time I was assuming it would be 5. potentially 7 with the Rain Razors. Actually, no, I was assuming it would be 7. But if he was able to block it, then I've got the 2 Arcane Barrier, and I have ways of blocking anything he has, and the goal is to get him to die to Blood Debt. With only 2 cards in hand, there's a very real chance he banishes too much that he can't deal with. He also has a blue Bounding, a yellow Bounding, and a red Ghostly Visit and banished right now. And the blue and yellow Boundings are a little awkward to get rid of, especially if this line that I'm talking about here got his creepers. So I think this becomes the safest line right here. Demands the most block. He doesn't have creepers. I still have Arcane Barrier too. There's a very real chance I can just live, even if he banishes Invert off the top here. But again, if he has the Invert in hand or arsenal, I die. So let me back up slightly to here. And we'll go back to the Command and Conquer. The next line that is debatable is like that. Actually, no, that's the more extreme line. The one that some other people suggested, and for a while I thought was the best, but I'm not convinced, is blocking here, here, and here. This takes me to 2 instead of 1. So then, on my turn, I'm able to... Whoops, not the Remorseless. It's supposed to be the CNC. On my turn, I'm able to take a similar line where I pitch, load, draw some unknown card, and then I'm able to pitch a yellow, I guess, to play that. But I don't actually know that this is going to be a take aim. So there's a very real chance that I pitch a red still, which means when I swing in, I don't have any resources floating. If he has the Invert, I still die. If this was a yellow that I drew and I take this line, then I live through Invert, and I get to Rain Razors. But again, that's banking on drawing a yellow in a deck that's about a third yellows. Actually, a little bit less than a third. Or yellow or better. So that's... I don't think that ends up being a good line. It's funny because it does actually work out, though, in this very situation where I drew the take aim, and I come in with the take aim, and I pitch for it. I have 1 resource floating. I live to Invert here. The problem is, if he sees I have 1 floating, 1 Arcane Barrier, and I'm on 2, Invert never gets casted right now, so this floating resource goes away. And then on the following turn, if he already had the Invert, he obviously still has the Invert, or even has the chance of hitting the Invert off the banishes. Now, all he needs to do is play non-attack action, attack action, which I know he's got a banished attack action, so he needs to have a non-attack in hand and like a blue. And you go non-attack, Bounding, Thorn, and then Invert. And I'm on 2 and I only have 1 Arcane Barrier, so I'm always dead to Invert there. The difference on that line is I'm always dead to Invert in hand or in the banishes, whereas the other line, I was dying to Invert only in hand right then, and I was potentially living through it if he drew it. Or sorry, if he banished it at the start of his turn. So this line always dies to the Invert banish, and therefore it becomes slightly worse. Alright, and then the third and final discussion for blocks on this turn, let's go back to this, is to... Tunic was on 2. When he attacks with the CNC, block for 6. Then turn passes over. I'm still on 3. My Tunic ticks up to 3. I get to Arsenal of Fate Foreseen. And then there's actually a debate on whether or not I cast the Rain Razors or if I want to have it for 2 Arcane Barrier or 2 Arcane Block. I think it could go either way. The consideration is if it's a Thorn only, I don't need this, and I could have gone for a 3 block somewhere else. So I think I end up playing the Rain Razors. The only problem is if he has Thorn plus Invert, then the Tunic resource, I would need to draw a yellow or something. But I think I think playing this just to clear it ends up being better, right? So we play it and we get to draw. Let's just say, just for simplicity, we'll say we have it. And then 3 random cards. The average block value for 3 random cards on my deck is going to be about 8. This, I guess, that I just grabbed was 9. Actually, 8's probably on the low end because I've got so many defense reactions, but we'll just say 8. So then at that point, I've got this block's 2 arcane, 4 physical, 4 physical. I guess we'll use the 9. Oh no, I guess this was actually 8. We'll do 8 because it fits, I guess. This is a total of 12 physical, 2 arcane. The Tunic resource blocks 1 more arcane, is 3 arcane. And then I've got 2 more physical blocks here. And these are able to line up with breakpoints pretty well. So I'm on 3, and I'm looking at protecting myself from another 17 damage, and I'm on 3, which means he needs to threaten a 20 damage turn. Or clear his blood debt. Which, I was like, I wonder how likely that is. He's on 3, he's already got 4 blood debt. Like, how likely is it that he just dies and can't do 20 damage? So I reached out, and yeah, he's like, with the creepers and a 5-card hand, and getting more shackles, like, it's very, very plausible to do 20 damage there, or clear the blood debt. Like, you could go either way. And the chance that he just whiffs is reasonably low. So, the takeaway was that this might have been an option, but in reality, this also probably doesn't get there. So, evaluating all those lines, I think the one that I took ended up being debatably the best. But again, it's really hard to say because I just spent an hour and 20 minutes talking through these decision points. And how long was this game? Let's see, 7:32. We'll call it 7:32:30 is when the game's over. Okay, so we spent about 30 minutes on the game. I obviously can't spend an hour 20 doing my thinking. Like, you have to come to these conclusions a little bit quicker, and I mean, obviously hindsight is going to be clear, and you're not going to see all the possibilities. So, as a whole, I'm pretty happy with how I played the game. But overall, it was a super close game. Again, he had a really strong turn 2, but then he had like a really weak turn 3 and 4 or something. Like, he had an all red hand there at one point, and he had an all blue hand. So it definitely balanced out, and you could see just kind of how even the game was, and it really comes down to whether or not he has the invert there. And I think my conclusion during the game was correct, is that I think I always lose if he has invert. So I have to play like he doesn't have it. But yeah, I hope that helps those. Sorry, it's probably confusing getting that playing again, but so much for me making this one faster. This ended up being about an hour and 20 minutes instead of an hour and 30 minutes, so it's just a lot to it. There's a million decision points in every single game. And I've always said, especially for Azalea, because you're drawing and you're opting so much, you never have full information on the turn until, I guess until you do, but like a lot of other decks, you get to see all the cards in your hand, and you have all the information. You get to plan out the entire turn with no variance. Whereas Azalea, you kind of have to hedge, and you get to see a new card. And then at some point during the turn, you then get all of the information. But throughout the turn, you're frequently gaining more and more information and having to reevaluate. So I think this is just one of the things that makes the deck interesting. Yeah. I don't know. That's my thoughts. Levi, Roundtable, Wraith. I shoot arrows. Pew pew. Thanks for watching.